Hello, all. I think we are live right now.
Nice to know that, Kiran. You guys are on different, we all are in three different parts of the world. Huh? So one good morning and two good evenings.
Good evenings.
Wonderful.
So I'm like a little bit always confused with the time. So 8 p.m. is 8:30 for me, and I'm always confused when I suddenly wake up. It happens.
Yeah. So when you write time for you, you will have to write what? Eastern time. Oh no. What do you write? There you are. Another early morning guy. Subramanian is there. Huh?
Yeah, PV.
Hi, PV. How are you? Good morning. And Anwar Tanawala. He's from Mumbai. Kiran. Ranjit Sadanandan. Oh, wonderful. Namaskaram. They're all. There are lots of Pixel Village regulars are here already.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. There is Saravana Nekambaram. Oh, wonderful. Good evening. Hope everything is fine with you, Saravana.
Yeah.
There were some stories that I saw in your video.
He's in the mountains.
Who's in the mountains?
Saravanan.
Oh, he's in the mountains. Saravanan, literally and figuratively in the mountains, is it? Or is the Lord Saravana that you're talking about? Because it's a high cup to Palani anyway. So wonderful. There is Anandita, there's Vignesh, Yash, wonderful. Vamsi. Lots of people have come in. Wonderful. Thank you very much for joining in.
So I think we can start.
So we thought of giving you a good intro, but there is nothing much we have to give an intro for you. So that's what we thought about it. But officially, we would like you to have you, sir. And we don't want to tell your name. We want to keep it secret.
Okay.
And for people who see this, I know pretty much everyone knows him. And, he's the founder of Pixel Village. And we admire him for his voice. Leave the content, the voice, that tells you a lot of stories. So that's my inspiration also, I would say, sometimes, because the way you present and it's kind of really different. And to be honest, I'm in an excited state. I don't know how happy I am to have you here. So.
Oh, there is a small thing. Sorry, somebody asked you, Gana. The singer asked the viewer, Gana kaisa hai? Meaning, how's my singing? So the viewer is saying, Tabla acha da. The percussion was very good. You are saying something to that. His content is okay, but his sound is very good. Okay, jokes apart.
Even the content is amazing. You need a person to carry it, right? So your content, I know what I spoke to you in WhatsApp, so we pretty much know about it, and everyone knows it. That's your views, number of audience speaks for that. So I don't have to speak anything new.
A very rapid growth, and Radhakrishnan sir basically he set a trademark for content making from India. Like I think it was around 3-4 years ago. First time he got featured in F-Toppers. I usually follow F-Toppers a lot, so I couldn't believe the first time like someone from India is making content, like such quality content. So that was like a trademark, and then from that time I've been like an avid follow everyone, including my friends and everyone. Like everyone's like, oh, the content is so good, the quality is so good. So everyone kind of was very it was very raving, and so we don't need. Usually, we give an introduction to whoever comes. Actually, I think he should be introducing us. Actually, in the sense that these are like we are literally no one's compared to sir. Actually, so thanks for that. We can start the session. Over to you, Kiran.
Okay. So that we know the topic, you could have seen a lot of photographers from film until the mirrorless, and you would see all the trending technologies which is happening, and pretty much you are aware of everything. So we
Yeah.
thought that's the right thing we wanted to ask you. So what do you feel about it actually?
So the title of the this evening's session is pretty profound. In the sense it's can you read it out? I mean, it's pretty profound. I mean, it says from film to digital, correct? The progress of a photographer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in essence is what we are going to be talking about. Well, let me kind of catch some breath and because it's a pretty serious topic. First, I thank you for inviting me to this session.
It's an honor.
Thank you very much for those kind words that you spoke about me. I don't know how much I deserve of that, and all those people who have joined this evening for this session. And I thank and welcome everyone to this evening. I may look a little, excited and happy and all that, but in back of my mind, I'm not exactly inspired at this moment because of various things which are pulling everyone back from obviously it's COVID. We're all confined to our own homes, and we are extremely anxious about what is in store for every one of us, each one of us. I mean, suddenly now you started worrying about everyone else too, right? I mean, earlier it used to be like, what is in it for me today? I mean, but now you started caring about even your neighbor, your people. Suddenly you realize that's equally important. So currently I'm personally and professionally kind of a little bit challenged because I'm homebound. I have not stepped out of my main door for the last 33 days. And not produced anything worthwhile, except I've been doing some bit of planning. That's all I can do at this point. I also, been telling all my friends, people in contact, don't be adventurous, don't get out. And because you don't know what is out there, it's like that, it's like that one of those typical Hollywood ghost story, because you've not seen the ghost. You know that it exists outside and you don't know what it is and how it is going to kind of come and haunt you. So you kind of knows that there are 2-3 ways in which you can protect yourself, and you're going to do that, So we are trapped in that kind of situation. So it's not exactly the kind of time when everyone gets inspired to do new things. But I would at the same time will say that use this time, because you don't get it every time, right? Now you've got it. Hence, I think you should. And it's not, I mean, the world has seen much more serious, even probably more serious disasters or catastrophes or events like this in the past. And the humanity have come out of it. So that's the only solace, that we also definitely going to come out of it one day. And you need to prepare yourself for that now, using this time. Instead of worrying about, because you're completely in a kind of a helpless kind of a scenario. So use this time to catch up with everything that you may have missed in the pursuit of so-called success. Okay. I'm sure you have neglected your near ones. Many professionals have. If somebody denies, he's lying. I mean, there are people who have missed out on their health, missed out on getting new information. I know so many people are now started reading, exercising, getting into meditation, yoga, so many things. And of course, while we speak that, this is those probably lucky ones who are able to do this. There are a whole lot of unlucky ones who are seriously affected by the event, and they have problems surviving. They are all surviving on a daily basis. on a daily basis. That's right way. Anyway, so that being the background, I think this discussion is very profound. I mean, in the sense, very serious. Now, it can be in many different levels. Okay, so from film to digital, there has been technological advancements. Okay, now the question is whether the photographer has made a journey in that same speed or not. Okay, one, whether it is relevant or not, is whether it is needed or not, is the other question. But as a photographer, I have always taken exactly what is needed and I've moved on. Okay, I usually stay away from any kind of deep diving into any subject. So contrary to what you said, or I am not an expert. If I have to speak about something, I will go. I mean, I have an overall understanding of that particular situation because of, let's say, just by virtue of being in that profession for a very long time. I have some bit of whatever that I did is stuck in some part of my brain, and I just replenish it, add a few more things and present it. Now, like you said, maybe my voice is helping me to present. I cannot take any credit for my voice. I have to thank my parents for it. Probably a good microphone, things like that. I cannot really take credit for that. I just make sure that it is presented well because I was in advertising photography. So in advertising is all about packaging, right? I mean, I need to make things look beautiful, or I need to make it acceptable to my client. I'm not a fine art photographer who says, I've shot it, this is the way it's going to be, like it or leave it, my way or highway. No, I cannot say that. I have to deliver something to the liking of somebody. So I'm not more than like a mercenary or like a hired sharpshooter. So the better you are, the more time you get hired, right? I cannot kill the guy who's standing next to my target. Hence, I need to kind of deliver that. So I will gather information just enough to deliver that. Okay. And then you move on, and then the next day you have a new situation. So these experiences will prepare you for the next day. So this is what I've been doing. Prior to, let's say, now we have a lot of online product launches, right? In the olden days, it never used to be so. I mean, you have once in few years, like a Photokina or something happening in America or some Far East places, and that's the only time you will have a new product launch. People would go there, touch, feel, try, and then they write an experience about it, and that's how you will hear about it, correct? Now, in Mumbai, because Mumbai is like the commercial hub of the country, lots of launches used to happen in Mumbai. So I would go and attend everything. And during these breakout times, people who move into the sidelines, and you'll have a coffee or a drink or something and start talking about it's like pixel peeping, or if it's a camera, they will start talking about the sensor and how a sensor was designed and how they would, 4 pixels would bind together and all that shit. Sorry to use that word, but I used to stay away from any such kind of discussions. I will say, do I require this to deliver a better quality product? All right. If it is required, what do I have to do? Do I need to, borrowing is fine, but do I have to steal? Correct. Do I have to rob a bank? Am I going to explain, forget, there is a pride of precision, right? There is thing of pride possession, like people, I'm sure all those friends who have these very, very expensive cameras. I know I have a few in this in this group today. Very, very expensive cameras, which is more a pride of possession than anything else for a commercial photographer. I used to do a lot of lifestyle photography, but also I never needed a technical camera. So I never even bothered till very recently, till about 4 years back. I never even try to understand the physics behind the technical camera. Correct. Now I am doing something else, so I wanted to have that explanation. Now I have a camera in the studio, so it is needed now. So of course it's a very details, very, like I said, it's we can talk about the subject in many different levels, but from film to digital, what I have seen is two different types of people. When we were doing film, you would see a lot of people giving a lot of importance to planning. It's, I would say, pre-mobile phone days. I mean, I have done productions prior to mobile phone days. So when I started out, there were no mobile phones. We used to coordinate every shoot well before the shoot. If somebody loses the way to the location, he will just loses the way to the location. I mean, there was no GPS, there was no mobile phones, nothing. So you meticulously plan, fix a time, and we used to produce great quality work even in those days. Now, cut to current scenario where we have mobile phones, GPS, and all those things. We still fail to show up in time for the shoot, correct? And we come up with this, very, very stupid excuses for not being that. No, I ran out of battery. The Google took me somewhere else. Or, I forgot my flash card and things like that. So have we made that progress? I doubt. Well, I'm not generalizing. So everything had its own advantages and disadvantages. So during film days, few things were very, very important, absolutely unavoidable for your success. Let's say discipline, responsibility, awareness. Discipline in the sense you need to be disciplined because you never. Okay, so from a commercial photographer's point of view, I am asked to deliver a color negative, a transparency, and a black and white print when I started photography in the 2000s. So people who were doing it prior to me were even more, kind of very strict, very disciplined people. So those were my gurus. So I learned it from them. One situation, I need to get my models to enact and give a similar expression 3 times. Okay, are you able to hear me?
Yes,
sure.
sir.
Right.
Yes.
Perfect. So am I speaking sense to begin with?
Yeah.
Sure.
That's why we are keeping.
Sure. So I have to deliver a color negative, a transparency, and color a black and white with, if not exactly the same, very similar expressions, because these 3 are needed for 3 different kind of outputs. So it was very unlike, taking the raw images to the software and pack, you have 3 different kinds of outputs, right? You never had that. Now, lots of people shooting medium formats were limited with, of course, there were no autofocus. You have to have 3 different magazines called magazines. You will have a transparency filled magazine, a color negative filled magazine, and a black and white filled magazine with 11, 12, or 14, depending on the type of camera that you're using. You need to shoot that many times. Now, look at the amount of planning that you have to do, correct? you had an ISO restriction, correct? The film speed, it was ASA. So you had a restriction in terms of the speed of the film. So you have to. Now I very vividly remember traveling to Mauritius in 1996 to do a film. Now, if you land up on a Mauritius beach with a regular speed, or a high speed film, you're dead meat, because it is so bright that you can't even open your eyes on the beach. It's so bright, So you need to be prepared with many NDs, neutral density filters, and a low speed film. Okay. If you are not disciplined, like you are, I've heard about stories of photographers landing on on location and forgetting to carry the flash card, the memory card. So imagine this is the extent of planning that you have to do there. You never had so much of lens choices. So that made the man or the woman, of course, very, very disciplined. So the disciplined became the buzzword, in the film days. So, and plus, of course, the film reacts. So overexposure and underexposure. The film, there you are, man. Welcome, man from Atlanta. You still there? You there, or you were running, saying that Corona aa gaya, bhago.
Austin, Texas. Sorry, let me not disturb your flow. Please go ahead.
Oh, all right, perfect. So, tell me when I am speaking nonsense, ask me to shut up, okay?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
So you needed a lot of pre-planning and discipline, and lots of commercial shoots were also, see, all the commercial images that you create end up either on a newspaper or on a magazine or on a billboard, right? Very unlike the current scenario, all those, till the digital printing started, all those used to be printed either by offset, or single sheet fed machines. Let's say offset or sheet fed machines. They will see, they had great limitations. So Sinar, if you go back and refer to some of those Bibles of photography, they talk about a 4-stop kind of margin between a highlight and a shadow to reproduce something perfectly in a print. Very unlike what we do now. We just pick up, aim at my object, and just shoot, and because there are so many things that are under control in the new scenario. The film would react better to overexposure than a digital sensor. It will react very, very badly to underexposure, but sensor will react better. A digital sensor is more favorable to you underexposing than overexposing, things like that. So if you had a solid base, I'm not saying that is necessary. The film photographers, even now, the reason why they are still a stickler for these details, and they don't miss an opportunity to bring this up and pin the other guy down, is this training, because it is hardwired into their brains. Awareness. You need to be aware. We never had apps, correct, to figure out sun location and things like that. So we had something called a clinometer, using which I will, because you go in one time of the year for a planning. If it's a movie shooting, you will come back in the next season to come and shoot for the actual production. So when you went to the sun, I could see the sun coming through the window or between two tall buildings, and I planned my shoot at 3:30 in the afternoon. I come after 6 months, 3:30, there is no sun. Correct? Now, in those days, they would carry something called a clinometer. And by the way, the clinometer was originally done for a different purpose. It was for, people, expedition, hiking, whatever, those the photographers started using it. And there is one for the Asia, one for Southern Hemisphere. There are different calibrations available. Anyway, so now you have something called a sun path. You have a sun tracker using which you can do all these things. But are we using it is another question. Anyway, so going back to that, you needed to be prepared to the T to deliver something effectively. Okay. I'm not talking about a hobbyist. I'm not talking about an adventure traveler. Okay, I'm talking about a commercial photographer who has accepted money and who have signed in a contract that I'm going to be delivering this. This is what I am supposed to deliver, and I will deliver this. For that person, it was like, I mean, you have to do it. I mean, you need to prepare the amount of everything to the T, correct? Everything to the T. Now, this is more so if you meet, let's say, a gaffer who's a lighting man in a film set, or a cameraman, a cinematographer. Those are the guys who are like, I mean, they will kill you if you miss. I mean, they can actually be really, really, what's the right way? Yeah, I mean, they can kill you if you miss out on things. So a light meter was a part of your body, correct? Understanding of filters, because you needed filters either in front of the lens or on your light, correct? Lights, apparently, I mean, these are things that I learned. There were the lights as they are used will shift in temperature. Correct. I mean, so they will go and check the HMIs. Those huge HMIs will have a counter on the back. So if it's an old one, I mean, most of them even carried a light meter, a color meter, to check the accuracy of the color. Correct. I know people who will call out for something. Okay, quarter CT, meaning a full blue filter. Instead, a quarter of that is what I want to add on my light to get my effect, because he is that informed. Currently, if we talk about raw and importance of a correct white balance, calibration, or not requesting photographers not to depend entirely on that small LCD behind, you are. With all respect to photographers, they will switch off when you get into that discussion and come to when you talk about techniques, tips, camera placement, light placement, lens, f-stop, and power and technique and all that. So I'm not saying it's bad, but it is like, so I have taken it on the stride, saying that, okay, this is what is required now. If I've become a stickler for these kind of details, I will have a whole lot of unhappy assistants in my studio if I start saying all these things, correct? But at the same time, they also have noticed that, acha, that is why he was saying that, I have not done anything great just because I happen to be in an era where discipline was everything. You imbibed it naturally. Now, that has definitely helped me. Now you are saying that our videos look different from a video generally, is probably because of the learnings that I am bringing in from my commercial background. So I have shot using, celluloid. I've shot movies on celluloid, 35mm celluloid. I've shot 70mm, I've shot Super 16, I've shot 16, where one roll, that is 3 minutes or 4 minutes of a roll, will cost you 9,500 rupees in 1996. 9,500 rupees in 1996. That's only for the roll. It's by the way, it's called a raw stock. It's called a raw stock. Okay. So I need to decide what raw stock I should carry, to what location am I carrying. Should I carry a daylight balanced one or a tungsten balanced one? These are the two available films on those days. What speed I should carry, what amount of light I must carry, and what are the kind of filters I must have, I must know in advance. What's in my bag is the latest thing, right? So you will open and say, I mean, there are so the most popular influencer will tell you what to carry in your bag, and that's what you will carry, correct? Which is like which is unthinkable, right? How can I take somebody else's word for granted and go to a commercial shoot because that's what the influencer said? But no, not really. So these are things that one must definitely, if practiced well, I think this will definitely help a digital photographer in a very, very big way. One. But then at the same time, I like automobiles. So I'm also kind of tempted to look at it in that perspective. Okay, you had earlier you used to walk from point A to point B. So the advantages of walking from point A to point B is that I can see everything that is on my way, correct? I can interact with people. I don't have a major deadline. But then you moved into a horse-drawn cart or a bullock cart. So you started traveling a little faster. Then you started losing the connection with the external world a little bit because you are moving. Some people are standing. Then you moved into a covered carriage, like a motorized vehicle. Then you started losing that connection. Then you needed a different set of skills, completely different set of skills. You cannot depend on an animal to take you from point A to point B, but then you needed skills of your own. Then various things evolved, and now you probably have gone back to a stage where you don't require any skills at all. You just get in. You need to operate an app, and that car will take you from point A to point B. That too very safe, correct? Now, in that progress, I don't know whether it is the traveler who has progressed or whether it's the technology that has progressed. Correct. Now we are in photography also. It is more or less it's the same. What has progressed? I think technology has progressed to a great extent, and all those people whose objective is to get from point A to point B probably is missing out on certain things. Are they effective? Yes, they are effective. But are they missing out on something? Maybe they are missing out on something. Missing out on something like the traveler who was so that's why probably you don't have any more Marco Polos anyway. You don't have anyone who would write a detailed travelogue, travel history, which is like a reference anymore. Correct? You have, instead of people, someone will take a Concorde flight from because you need to get back in the evening. You will go in the evening. You go to that particular restaurant in New York, get down, do your vlog, and you come back. Correct? And now that person is supposed to know all of everything. So I don't know whether it is right or wrong, but that's the way things are now. So we can do pixel peeping or hair splitting and decide whether that is right or wrong, or everyone should toe my line and you should be as disciplined as I am. I don't think anyone should say that this is right or this is right or this is wrong. It is there for that person to take so much of. I think we are living in a time and age where almost everything is possible, right? Look at the newest Google innovation called the Starline. I'm sure you have seen the Google Starline. There's a new project that they have launched where you are sitting in front of a lifelike screen and a 3D image of your guest is projected there. It's almost like you looking at the mirror. Instead of your reflection on the mirror, you are seeing your guest. In 3D, in real life, actual size, actual person. So imagine when I build a home for my son, I mean, a room for my son, this device will be a standard feature in there. He is not going to school anymore. He is going to sit in front, and the teacher, there are no more backbenchers, correct? Just like in photography, you can't underexpose now. You can't take a wrong exposure anymore. If you do that, then man needs serious attention, because technology has made that possible. So where should one at this point stress is in their developing their aesthetics is what I think you should, because the way the technology is progressing is like, it's going to be a Tesla tomorrow. You're going to get in and you're going to feed in and say, boop, go from here to there. And the AI will take care of blemishes. AI will take care of lots of things based on its understanding of that situation. But I think the creator will remain, and the creator's creativity probably will not be challenged by AI. I think that's where I'd like to kind of stop my blabbering and open to you.
No, sir. Whatever you said, it's right. The discipline, that is something. To be honest, I learned it from Prasanna sir's workshop. When we went to the workshop, he was talking about all the filter papers, and he said he will carry everything, small things, even a blue tack. That helped us in a lot of wedding scenarios where you want to take a ring shot, then you use the blue tack to do it. I think a lot of people are missing it these days, so it's always good to learn from film. The discipline is like really good. So that is something. He told us, like, you take everything to the wedding. Don't say no. You should have everything. You should be prepared for all situations, and that was what is helping us to do it till date. Whatever, I carry everything, whether I use it or not. I carry everything. I think Raj and me put everything back to the car and we take it out. So that is the experience we have to learn, and that's what you said today too. PV.
Yeah. So I'll tell you another. I mean, so discipline is not exactly about carrying equipments. I'll tell you about my personal experience about working with some of those big, senior photographers in Pune. In Mumbai. So there was this photographer who will insist that you make a list of things that you carry. Okay. So it is a handwritten. There's no computer. There's no screenshots. There is no nothing of everything spread on the table. Take a shot. Isani, write it down. Now, when that gets unloaded, you are cross-checking. When it is unloaded on location, cross-checking. When you're mounting it on, there is one guy always standing with your equipment. They say people may not be coming there to steal it, but he can mess with it, and you will not even know, and you will know only after the shoot is over. Hence there is somebody there. When it is rolled back, it is rolled back exactly in the same way that it went in. Carefully. Then it is checked again. When it is unloaded at home, it is checked again. Now, whether it is needed today, may not be, but I know for a fact that photographers just leave it there and the bag is touched. I mean, you take the card out, but the bag is touched just probably the day before or the morning of the next shoot. Battery charge karna hai. That's so. Maybe you need not be that, you don't need to. I mean, that's almost like military style. You need not do that, but some amount of care of equipments and discipline and all this definitely is needed. There is a big complaint in South. See, we are in very tropical. We live in a very tropical kind of conditions in Kerala, Tamil Nadu. Because of humidity, we sweat a lot. So when you are constantly shooting, especially wedding photographers, you're constantly, your sweat is dripping onto the device, right? And salt is abrasive. I mean, salt is there in your sweat. It is abrasive. It goes in through the, all the contact points. It also loosens the adhesive of the grip. Some of them are leather, some of them are artificial leather. It start coming off, correct? And I have seen for a fact that many photographers start blaming the brand for it, asking for free replacement. I have had tough times trying to explain to people that it probably because they have not done anything specially for made anything specially for south of India. They made a product for the world. They have taken care of almost everything that is needed. It has gone through a certain amount of testing and whatever. And I think you need to respect, and take good care of your equipments. So there are so many things. So once you are disciplined, all these things will come naturally to you. Sorry if I have digressed. Okay.
No, sir. So yeah, it was like beautifully said. Like
one more thing I'd like to add is that when I came to Mumbai, so early 90s, late 80s, early 90s. So the stalwarts, the big photographers of those times in commercial photography were Gautam Rajadhyaksha. Then you had Denzil Sekera. Then you had Ajit Patel. Then you had Rafiq Syed. I had the great opportunity to work under him. Then you had Mithur Bedi. Of course, Mithur Bedi had passed away by then. Vilas Binde. And then came the next generation of photographers called Atul Kasbekar. Then you had Farooq Chotia. People like that. So everyone in the 90s had a very distinct style of photography. If you look at internationally also, the great photographers, you saw Bruce Weber or anybody, take that matter, Max Word-Cole, take any photographer, they all had a distinct photography style. Now, that photography style is also due to the choice of film and the choice of that fine processing and that fine printing technique that he had used, to get a particular tone out or a style out. And because there were no, social media or, this kind of dissemination of information, you really didn't know what he did to get that kind of effect. Okay. Plus, he had his own understanding of fashion and aesthetics. So everything put together, he could create a style of his own. So Gautam Rajadhyaksha had a style. Shantanu Shori had a style. And I could actually take a look at an image and say that, yes, this is Prabodha Das Gupta, or this is Gautam Rajadhyaksha, or this is so-and-so. Even internationally, Albert Watson, I mean, in your... or Newton, or you take any, you can one look and figure out who this is. I challenge people to do that now. To look at somebody's work and say this is so and so. It is so trending and so possible, so duplicatable that I can recreate if I wish. So is that an advantage or disadvantage? And I'm not going into that, but probably photographers lost that. Even now, if you look at successful photographers, they have actually brought in that element of surprise. Every time they shoot like them, not like another person. So that is, I think, the challenge now, not acquiring the latest gear or latest equipments and still complaining about certain things. I think it is creativity. Like I told you even earlier, creativity will not have a substitute. and creating your own style if there is. If you can find that, the challenge lies there. Not getting your funds together and buying the latest equipments.
Okay. So PV was having a discussion. So the creativity is inversely proportional to technology. So if the technology
No, so
increase,
it was in jest, but I think Karthik commented something on evolution. So I said, technology evolution is inversely proportional to photographer's evolution, right? And see, philosophically, and I'll go a little philosophical here, right? I think the problem is that technology evolution and artists' evolution are completely different. I would, in a sense, say mutually exclusive, right? Probably that's taking it a little too far, but I would still go and say that, because it's like whether you cook, whether you drive a car, anything, right? Technology will evolve. Technology is always evolved.
Exactly.
Evolving, right? But that has nothing to do, in fact, with an artist's evolution, right?
Yeah.
Artist's evolution is not at all about technology. It's about your imagination, your creativity, your style. It is not about buying presets and replicating those, right?
Yeah.
The look you spoke about, like Gautam Rajadaksha was one reason why I shoot portraits today. Okay. Wow. I used to go to for haircuts simply because Stardust and Filmfare used to be there, and I could see Gautam Rajadaksha's pictures, right? Because my dad wouldn't allow me to buy Stardust and Filmfare in those days, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
So I used to go for haircuts because that's where you could find these, right? So that's the whole point. The point is that we think that people, we all call ourselves professionals, right? But professionalism is not about owning the best gear. Professionalism is what you said, right? Discipline and understanding, evolving. That's a professional, right? When it's your profession, there are a few things you need to do to be a professional, right? That's extremely, very different from having the best equipment. So in that sense, for example, like at that time, there was no metadata, there was no EXIF, there was nothing, right? So in the 90s, I had to note down, right, what exposure I used, so that when the film comes, when the picture comes, I know whether I overexposed, underexposed in a particular lighting or a backlit situation, so that next time I can correct it. Now, if I didn't note that, I'm going to make those same mistakes again and again, right?
Correct.
Now, today, we have EXIF data, we have everything, but nobody bothers to see it, right? Because Photoshop can fix it.
What is EXIF, by the way?
Exactly. So because Photoshop can fix it. So we are looking for better dynamic range in cameras rather than looking at EXIF data and correcting our mistakes. And that is the problem with the evolution. That is where we are not evolving, right? Number one. Second, high ISO performance. We are going crazy. We are splitting hairs with high ISO performance. What was the maximum speed of film you shot ever in, Radha?
Oh no, 400. I think 400.
Right? Yeah.
Though I had a 3200 I've never used it.
Yeah, but for professional use, when you're going to print big, you would seldom use 3200. You would be 400. Now, if you
T-Max 100.
Yeah. So if you had to make sense of 400 ISO, you needed to know lighting. You needed to understand artificial lighting, right? So that is the problem with evolution. That is why I'm not evolving, because now what I'm saying, I don't care about learning lighting, but what I'm going to do is buy a camera which at 10,000 and 20,000 and 100,000 ISO will give me acceptable pictures. And that is what all, all kinds of reviews and everything is all about, right? It's not about shoot at the base ISO or the, what's it called? What ISO is it called?
Native
ISO. Native ISO, right? Shoot at native ISO or thereabouts, and then understand lighting you're seeing better for professionals especially, rather than just keep pushing ISO and then blame the camera that, oh, this camera has terrible high ISO performance. Really, it is bound to have. That's physics or whatever it is, right? Electronics or whatever. So that's the problem with evolution. So evolution of an artist has nothing to do with evolution of technology.
That's very nicely said.
I mean, it is. I mean, I just want to add, it's a trend that I keep seeing, and I keep warning about that to photographers, is that the trend is to buy the most expensive camera and shoot at the highest possible ISO and shoot a lowest possible JPEG with it. Why? The question is, no, I don't have time to process, no RAW. I'm sure JPEG is improving. Now you have a newer format. So till that happens and becomes equal to, let's say, a very high quality image, continue using RAW, because you spend tons of money buying, acquiring that device. You don't make sure that you follow that thumb rule of, look at the lens that you're using, use that thumb rule to decide your maximum shutter speed. If you're shooting on a 50 mm, 1/50th should ideally give you a stable image, correct? Provided that you're not shooting an action. So then you don't need to go to 12,000 ISO and 24,000 ISO and shoot it. I mean, I've seen people shooting at very high ISOs in broad daylight, and then worrying about or complaining about the ISO grains there. How is he seeing grains? He's enlarging it 400 times on his screen, and they say, look at this got a grain. Now what is he printing? A 4:6 image. So the reason is that, well, if you are disciplined, again, I need to go back to that, you will understand your equipment that you're using, its advantages, disadvantages, limitations, what is required. Because in the olden days, like I said, if I shoot beyond that 4 stops, latitude, my print is finished, because 120 dots is what I can print best. 80 to 90 in black and white, it used to be known as quarter tones, meaning you will print 25 dots. 20. I mean, okay, if to people who do not know about this, it's a color prepress is like a very, very exhaustive kind of department of printing altogether. But if you blow something, you will see paper, you will not see the image. If you underexpose something, you will see black color, like there will be nothing. So you need to know where it's going to be printed. Even now it is there, because that's why there is color management. But the moment you start talking about color management, I see people leaving one after the other. Oh no, my train leaves at 5:30. I've had the situation. So morning session was about lights, flashes, and techniques. The afternoon was about color management. At 4 o'clock, I could see people leaving slowly because I need to give only an image. Printing is his problem. So if this is the disadvantage, but okay, in the olden days, my job was to expose it properly. There was a lab, there was a printer, there was a processor, there was an offset. All were professionals in their own field, and they would take care of it. My job was only to deliver it in a certain, required way. But now I am all bundled into one, right? I am the photographer, I am the lab, I am the processor, I am everything. Which means your responsibility as a photographer has actually increased. Whereas you are, instead of trying to understand those important aspects of photography and post-production, you are leaving everything into the camera. You think that buying the latest, the most expensive one is my sure shot way to getting a successful or a great image.
Yeah, I think evolution itself. I think it's a big word, right? And breaking it up really helps as to what is evolution. Taking technically better pictures is not just evolution, right? Because your equipment will aid you in doing it. So all of us today can take a picture. Whoever has a good, decent camera can take a picture which is not overexposed or underexposed, right? Exposed fairly correctly, right? But how much of depth there is in that picture beyond those basics, right? And this goes back to when I used to teach Six Sigma. People used to ask me, "Oh, if my company takes up Six Sigma, will I be the best company in the world?" I said, "No, because Six Sigma is just a tool. It's just a knife. I can give you a knife. I can teach you how to use a knife. But what use you put it to is your problem, right? That I cannot come and dictate, right? Similarly, you can have the best utensils to cook, but you need not cook the best dishes, right? So that evolution comes with understanding art, understanding in depth of the history of that art, and there is a reason why people go to schools, right, to learn photography or dance or music or whatever, right? It's not that I sing badly, but I have not learned music, so I cannot go and do a concert today. Right? I cannot stand on stage and sing for 3 hours in different ragas and with swaras because I have not learned it. But if I'm entertaining a bunch of drunks, I can do it brilliantly. Right? I can do it brilliantly. Right? That's the difference. That's the difference. So evolution is a lot more than clicking a sharp picture, a picture with good exposure, a picture in focus. Right? It goes way beyond that. It goes. It really talks. It's talking to your audience. It's creating a body of work. It's putting imagination into effect. It's about developing a style. It's so much. So that is evolution. And I think the more people start exploring evolution itself and how people evolve. For example, look at the work of the masters itself when they started and as they ended their careers. You would see the transformation, right? You would see how their style transformed, because they used equipment, how that transformed. So, for example, and I know he's a controversial character, but one of the guys I adore is Steve McCurry, right? And look at Steve McCurry's work in the Afghan war or before that, and along that timeline, and look at his work today. That style is still distinct, although today he's using the latest of equipments and stuff like that, but a Steve McCurry picture is a Steve McCurry picture because of the use of light and the use of colors and all that is a constant. That's because there is an evolution path there, and it's not the evolution of technology has probably not impacted, apart from the fact that he's probably able to generate a better percentage of acceptable according to him pictures. But I think that's not kind of taken anything away, or that's actually enhanced his evolution rather than degraded that.
Totally agree.
Yeah. So the trend now, like I think PV, myself, and Kiran, so we would have experienced this. The trend now is something like when artists reach out to us, they don't say that, see, these are the images I've clicked. I own Sony. I own Canon, I own this camera with this gear. So as an artist, actually, that mindset has to change. Even when clients come and ask us like, what gear you use, we outright tell, see, we are not going to reveal what we are actually using. So just see the pictures, what we are clicking, see the work, and then reach out to us actually. So we just need to come out of that particular trend. So that evolution, like as an artist, you should evolve as an artist, not as like a gearhead. So like I own more gear and I can take better images. So that needs to, that everyone needs to change. And having said that, like I've not shot on film. I've never shot on film. PV and Radha sir, and I think Kiran has shot it once or twice. No, you have not shot. So
I borrowed PV's camera and then I shot. So.
The only experience I have shooting is with Kodak camera, that point and shoot camera, like in early 2000s. Actually, apart from that, I don't have. But I've never shot in film. But myself, Kiran, and PV, everyone who I know, like whoever is there in our circle, we try to get it perfect in camera. So that is where I think like we will evolve as a photographer actually, rather than see post processing definitely helps, but take that out of your mind. So think that okay, what is that I need to do to get it in perfect in camera, rather than okay, this part is like completely bleached out, let me fix it in the post. This picture is really dark, okay, let me fix it in post. So there's no scope for you to evolve as a photographer. I know it will take in wedding situations is going to be very difficult, but an extra minute sometimes is really going to help you like evolve. Like I have like this lockdown really helped me think more, not just with gears, think more in terms of photography, think like what I should do in order to bring out my images. Like Radha sir said, like the film cameras, everyone had a signature. Like you see an image, like even now in the digital era, if you see Rafiq Said's image, you can definitely like point out, okay, this is Rafiq Said. Even for that matter of fact, PV's images, immediately if you see it, like we can guess it, like is their images. So that is what we try to achieve. So Kiran, shall we just start with the questions? It's 1 hour already. So I think it's better to start with the questions. So one question I have, sir, actually, see, you said that you worked in advertising and all. Like, how was wedding photography during film days? Because now in the digital era, it's more of like run and gun. Actually, see, we usually don't have time to like sit, pose, and all. It's like more of run and gun. See, there are photographers who click up to the top photographers in the world. So they click up to 10,000 images, and then they spend a day or 2 or 3 days just in culling. So how was wedding photography during film days, and how do you think it has changed now? Has it changed for the better or the worst?
To me, the question is to me.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So I started my photography as a wedding photographer. So it started in 1984. 84. That's when I started doing photography initially. So I had, I did not have a camera. So I borrowed a camera from, someone who had a camera at home, a friend's father, even now, I mean, but more so in the 80s, everybody's, majority of household had one person in the Gulf. Yeah. So, you know what a Gulf is? Gulf is like the Middle East. So, and when they come, during their vacations, there are a few things which few pride possessions are bought and brought. One of it is camera, but usually the camera is locked away in a steel cupboard, and only to get catch fungus and get completely kind of completely gone. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, one of my friends who had friend's father who had a camera allowed me to use that camera, and I started doing photography. It was a Yashica FX3. And there is a new FX3 coming. I think it's from Sony. I think an FX3 coming. Anyway, so I used to do wedding with one roll of film. So if you have two rolls, I mean, it has to be like a big wedding, at least the kind of weddings that I used to attend. 3 rolls is like luxury. So you need to squeeze out even the last roll. If you can get a 37 and a 38, it'll be nice. So when you load carefully so that you can, extract a 37th or a 38th frame also from that. Well, again, you used to use a camera-mounted flash. So it is like one of those, straight, there's a word for it, I'm forgetting. Anyway, so those kind of photographies that we used to do. And so the thing called Candid was not popular at all there in those times. Did you shoot all the important events of a wedding? Yes, you have. because so all the flashes used to be powered either by a shoulder-mounted rechargeable battery, or only the top-notch photographers used to have those powerful flashes. I think I remember a brand called Metz from Germany. Metz, they had this very powerful flash. And the flash had a mount on which the camera used to go on, and so you would hold the flash with one hand and the camera with the other, and the rechargeable acid-based battery will be on your shoulders. Now, that's how you would shoot a wedding. So 36 frames, and you must make sure that you have shot important guests, the important events of that whole wedding, and that's your album. Well, cut to current. So that's how I had attempted a couple of so it used to be known as available light shots. Okay, so you take your subjects close to a nice largish window and try and get some side light, one of those very, very naturally lit pictures, but that would leave a lot of unexposed or underexposed areas on the other side. And I have got big whacking for attempting shots like that, because ye kya hai? Why is it dark here? Why is it not clear like the other pictures and all that? So both the photographer and it's end of the day, it's also demand. What is the demand of that day? What is trending during that time? What is popular? So over a period of time, even if you look at film or any kind of expression of art or craft, it was also driven by the requirements of that day. So my camera, though it could take nice available light shots, it was not needed for wedding. So I would shoot straight, flash, 36 frames. If I'm lucky, I'll get a little, one more roll to shoot. And that's how we used to shoot. Again, discipline was very important, because you can't miss. Currently, your camera is eternally on a continuous high mode. And you're shooting a group, you will still want to shoot, you're shooting a group picture where everyone is looking into the camera. You still want to take, you run your camera at 16 frames a second. So, I have seen digital cameras which are 450,000 frames old and 1 year old cameras. Because I've seen it. I've seen cameras. A friend of mine had a 1DX Mark II with 4.5 lakhs frames, and it was only 1 year old. So the way of seeing, the requirements, everything was different. Then I got into commercial photography, and I completely got lost connection with the wedding photography world. And indeed, I think the wedding trend started in the 2009-10 onwards. The whole trend started, and I missed that boat completely. I didn't even know that such a profession existed, and it was in such great demand, and things like that, till I started noticing a photography magazine running wedding photography competitions. In 2010 is probably 9 is when I first saw, because one person a friend of mine who was also with me as an assistant won a prize in that. And that's when I said, wow, okay, and what is that? Then I saw all the big photography equipment manufacturers were sponsoring that, and there were no competition for advertising photography like that in a commercial magazine. Of course, there were awards and stuff in advertising for commercial photography, which was entirely different. But wedding photography really took off. Now I know photographers who's got 3-4 German cars, They employ 60, 70, people under them. There are photographers who got 40, 50 people in their payroll. And it is unimaginable. For me, that scale is unimaginable. I mean, if you put me into a wedding scenario now, I will fall flat. I mean, I don't think I'll be able to deliver anything. Okay, I can go as a one-man army and take some pictures, which is different. But I don't think I'll be able to manage, like a wedding company kind of. I don't know. I don't even know how to assign certain responsibility to certain photographers and all that. I don't even want to know because it's scary. It's scary for me, Whereas yeah.
No, finish it.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, so when I look at an wedding photographer now, I look at with a lot of respect because the man is in a war zone. He is in a war zone. Completely loaded guns, and I mean there is a gun on his head also, and he's trying, and I don't think I would be able to function like that. If I have a client next to me asking me, why is that looking like this, then I start getting, like a little. I need to stop and explain to him, why did I do that? Whereas here you are eternally shooting away, and you're trying to get something. I'm completely in awe of a wedding photographer these days, and how are they managing to get this, in such a short time, no replay, but they get these things done. I wonder how they do it. So things have changed drastically, and I have missed that boat.
So I have the answer for that, actually. The last question that you posed, how they get it. And I think that's where I wanted to go with evolution, right? Again, going back to that word evolution. I think evolution as a wedding photographer from when you start, like you said, around that time, 2009, 10 is when I shot my first wedding, right? From there on, if you really look at evolution, I think evolution, again, although we've obviously got better cameras and faster cameras and all that stuff, I think evolution in a nutshell for a wedding photographer, to a large extent, at least 60, 70% is anticipation, right? Experience gets you that. When those moments are pregnant with things that are going to happen, right? Yeah. And shooting. So I've shot a majority of my weddings, at least after 2013, with the manual focus lenses, right? The legendary Noctilux is what I used to shoot with for quite a few years. And I used to shoot it at 0.95. And I used to get those moments. So I've been asked how. So I said, one is the camera is always glued to your eye. And then I think with experience, what you know is what is going to happen, right? Now, the moment, they tie the knot, people are going to cry. Right? It is bound to happen, right? And if you need the shot of the girl's mom crying, you've got to do that, right? You've got to be ready, focused there, because that's going to happen. So your second shooter can shoot whatever's going on there, and then you focus there. So you get it. So I think that, and then the light, like Raj just said, I'm a stickler for not blowing backgrounds. Okay. I'm an absolute stickler for that. And like we've all shot together, right? Karthik, Raj. The first thing my eye will go to is any bright background, right? And say, this is not, we should. So it's just a matter of changing angles a little bit. And now, in weddings, what happens, right? There'll be multiple teams, multiple photographers, videographers, candid videographer, traditional. So there'll be 1,000 lights in all directions, right?
Yes.
So I take my pro photos only when I know I have to do my portrait sessions, but otherwise I keep all my lights inside because I know it will be so lit, the place, that I don't need any light, right? I just need to figure out which is my best angle to get the right shot, right? So doing that, I think that is evolution. It doesn't matter that you want to take 10,000 pictures, please go ahead by all means. But that is not going to assure you that you're going to get those 100, 200 pictures, which will go into an album and which will look unique and separate and help you build a style, right? So while does it help? Yes, absolutely it helps. So even though I anticipate, a quick focusing camera with 20 FPS will surely help me absolutely nail it, right? But if I don't have that anticipation, if I don't know where to be looking, if I don't know where the right light is, I can shoot, I can rattle away, like you said, and nothing is going to come out of it, right? And I think that is where you see today wedding photography has also become so templatized, right? I mean, people are shooting, they know when they go into a wedding, they know there are these 20, like, the top angle, this angle, that angle. So every wedding picture looks fairly similar, right? So there are very few people who are doing that anticipation. That evolution is what, is real evolution, right? So I think that's the way wedding photography is currently.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would honestly be happy to work with whenever I shoot open pieces, like no highlights blown. That's the first thing we use. Any other stuff, but that's the key thing we always expect.
And see, that came from, again, looking at the work of the greats that we just mentioned, right? That's just deconstructing their images, right? A figure-ground relationship, right? Figure-ground relationship is something which Cartier-Bresson or Kudelka or Steve McCurry, all these guys pay so much attention to that. Have you ever seen any of these guys background blown and stuff like that? No, right? I mean, that's a very basic. But unless you don't understand that, you've not followed that work, you've not deconstructed it, it's not going to come easily. It takes. There are still people who won't see the background and just rattle off. That's still a fact of photography today.
Yeah, I think PV is a living embodiment of how to evolve as a photographer, because I think he's one of the very few people who shoots in film, and I think he has shot weddings also in film. So that
portraits in large format with but very few, because I saw that people don't value it anymore, so I stopped. But I tried it.
No, but again, see, the key points here is like what I have observed with him. Like, see, is that he is stickler for certain things. Actually, I know we can adjust the highlights very easily in post, but if we give an image to him with a highlight, like a blown highlight, we'll get a call. Raj, what is this? You should have adjusted it. So that is something that everyone needs to learn, taking better in-camera images actually. So that's because he's shooting in film, so he's still following that actually. But see, me on the other hand, am I like that now? Yeah. So I have to agree to it. Like sometimes, given the heat of the situation, it gets very overwhelming. So sometimes I'm like, okay, let me just click it. So I'll have a moment. Okay, let me just keep doing it actually. So that he is a very good example. Even in fact, Kiran also, like, he takes a little bit of time and then he says like, okay, let me fix it for 30 seconds. Then let me shoot another 100 images. So that is something which we can like take from shooting film and then like digital. Kiran?
Yep. Questions for you here in the chat. Maybe if you want to address.
It's 1 hour 18 minutes, sir. So are you like okay addressing the questions? Radha sir, so would you like to address the questions?
Yeah, of course. Why not? Please.
Yeah. There are lots actually, because it's already 1 hour 20 minutes. So I just wanted to make sure that you're.
No, I am perfectly fine. I have nothing else to do.
Perfect. Kiran, you can just start displaying the questions.
This is the question from Naresh. According to the latest technology of mirrorless cameras, why film industry is not utilizing mirrorless technology to shoot films instead of ARRI and red cameras?
According to latest technology of mirrorless camera, why film industry is not utilizing mirrorless technology to shoot films instead of ARRI and red cameras? Those are mirrorless cameras. Naresh, those cameras, if you're talking about digital motion picture cameras, they are mirrorless cameras. I mean, those traditional film motion picture cameras that you are referring to, the traditional ones had a mirror in front. Okay, so when you look through a viewfinder of the Arri BL, or the 435 or the 535 on all those cameras, your viewfinder will keep getting blinded by the mirror moving in front. So you will not have a continuous view like a DSLR. It will briefly blind your view, whereas the digital motion picture cameras, which you're talking to, the Reds and the Arris, are mirrorless. There are no mirrors. So,
and the reverse also.
They are
there have
using.
been movies have been made with Sony A7, S2s and all that. Of course, low budget movies, but there are movies which have been made.
No. What he is saying is, he is probably under the impression that these cameras are better equipped to create TA available here. Why the hell are these guys not seeing and not using it? Is what he's saying. So, so there are many aspects to it, Naresh. It'll take a lot of time to explain, but it's about the resolution of the. There are far too many things. To tell you briefly, there are two very important things in a digital film, industry standard digital film production cameras that makes it different from the mirrorless cameras that we are using. Okay, they use a kind of shutter called the global shutter. Okay, which is different from the shutters that we are using in a mirrorless camera. They work very differently. I will require time to explain that. But understand that those shutters work very differently. Second is resolution of a sensor of a mirrorless camera. Let's say will vary from, let's say, currently the lowest one is, let's say, 18 megapixel to the highest one, which is 61 megapixel, anyway, or 100 megapixel. But when it comes to delivering a 4K video, okay, 4K video has only an 8 megapixel requirement. Okay, 8 megapixel. And your sensor has many times more. Now, that's not an advantage, that's a disadvantage. But when it comes to, let's say, an industry standard film camera, digital film camera, they are not more than 12 megapixels or 8 megapixel, depending on the size of the sensor. So your it doesn't have to. The pixels are much bigger in size. Okay, contrary to the size of here, smaller the pixel, larger the resolution, better the quality seemingly for your still image. Whereas for a motion picture, it is not so. If you need 8 megapixel, you're going to shoot an 8 megapixel. You're going to use an 8 megapixel sensor to shoot it. It's not exactly 8 megapixel. They use, I think, some are 8 megapixels, some are 12 megapixels. Which means your individual pixel sizes are much larger, which can take much more light inside and give you a much cleaner image, which is needed for filming. So that's why those cameras are very different. So they employ a different technology altogether. Well, of course, you can use your mirrorless cameras and shoot a B-roll. You can use it as an action cam. You can put it in impossible places. You can mount it on a drone and things like that. But definitely, those cameras have very different features. That's why they make it. They create a different looking images altogether. Because if you shoot with a DSLR or a mirrorless, your image will. You look at the images that you are delivering, they look very distinctly different in terms of, the visual quality. They're different from, an Arri. Okay, you can use a red, and you can actually, if you misuse a red, you can shoot it like a video camera. I've seen lots of, films produced using red, and they look like DSLR kind of results because they are not used properly. But to get that so-called cinematic film-like look, you need to handle those cameras different. They are built differently. Yes, if you use your DSLR or your mirrorless with respect, follow that discipline and handle it like a film camera, you will get more cinematic-like looking images from it. Okay. I think
next question.
I think Naresh seems to be happy with the explanation.
This is one interesting question. So nowadays we fight about high ISO, my dynamic range is this, and I have this and that. What you guys were discussing in back home, I mean the film period, Karthik.
Like we now talk about iTrack AF 14.5 stop of dynamic range. What tech are you people talking about in those days? Just curious. Well, I don't know. We were talking much about. First thing, personally speaking, I did not have too much understanding to talk too much tech, because I never used to process my films and print my films. The people used to do it, but I used to shoot predominantly color negatives, which means I cannot process it at home because it's not possible. I cannot. Sorry, I cannot print at. Yeah, I cannot print at home. Similarly, those enthusiasts, black and white photographers used to, of course, process and print at home. I never used to enjoy it much, so I never attempted it. I would buy only one type of film. I mean, I knew exactly what was good for me. And I used to go to only one lab and print it in one particular way. And I would use only one printer who understands, we had some rapport, and I would use only him. So there was not too much tech. Well, the only way we would get some, peek into the tech was, we had a big bookshop in Ernakulam called Pi & Company, Pico. And you go to Pico and try to figure out if there is a new American photographer or a photo, American Photo, all these magazines. When they come, they keep one usually outside for people to browse through. So that's the only time. Or you have to stand in a queue among a few friends, stand in a queue to get one magazine free. Free ho gaya to, it's next is my turn. So you go borrow from him, go through it and understand. And of course, like the influencers that we have today, in those days also, in among our photography, enthusiasts and friends, we will have one techie guy, who's like, who would, whose main purpose of life itself is understanding newest technology, was understanding a new photography and, talk about it and all that. So, yeah, so I had one camera, one lens. Then someone will say, okay, now there is a camera called Pentax LX, which is like the Rolls Royce. You should try and get it. I went as close to it. I did not get the LX. I bought the MX. I did not buy the LX. So I had a Pentax MX and a 1.4 lens and manual focus, and then you are happy, you're done. Like when I was doing commercial photography, anyone who buys Hasselblad, 3 lenses, 3 extension tubes, 3 magazines are set for life. You don't need anything more, and of course, if you want, you can have. So I had that. I had a set of Nikon lenses and an f5, and I was not shooting large format anyway. So I did not need any more tech to talk about, That's it. That's the beginning and end of what you need. And we would concentrate on how to improve your craft, and we would concentrate on, creating. So in those days, DIY was very important. So you would experiment with your lights, not with anything else. Now you have everything available. Thanks to China, almost everything is available now. I remember paying 57,000 rupees for a lantern. I still have it. It's a brand called Chimera. So I still have that. It is 11 years old, and it's still, I have that. And 16 years old, and I still have it. 57,000 rupees. Now 5,500 rupees, you get a Chimera with everything in it. So yeah, you can buy one for each shoot. So that was technology for me in those days. But I used to like it. I used to enjoy it. Like I said, I would take what is needed and move forward. But now, of course, like I said, because what we are doing by virtue of what we're doing at Pixel Village, we do all these things.
Okay.
Good thing. Basically, actually, me and Raj speak at least for us together in the phone, and I think we haven't spoke about dynamic range or any camera technology to date, I guess.
Yeah.
Something learned from our mentors, so that is what. Okay.
Yeah. So Bhavesh is a regular at Pixel Village. Bhavesh is here. Bhavesh is from Mumbai. He's a pet photographer. Very, very serious photographer. He has very interesting points. He said the big thing he would talk about is about how fast the AF was, or about the meter inside and part of the camera viewfinder, if you about underexposure, overexposure, etc. That's the kind of tech that you would talk about. There's nothing more. Yeah.
Awesome. So one more final question.
Sure.
Saravanan has asked the question.
Yeah.
So
I'll display that for you. Okay, Raj, display.
yeah, I'll display it. Yeah.
You have seen the various evolutions of camera types, film to DSLR to mirrorless, and what is next technological advancement you foresee in camera evolution? So I really don't know, but I see AI, the so-called computational technology, playing a great role. You would do a whole lot of things in the camera itself. And the AI will take care of, a lot of things like it is like the Photoshop 2, 3, 4 and the Photoshop now, which is, there's a lot of AI in it. You have to go through dozens of steps to achieve a certain effect, which is now available at the click of a button, because the system has actually learned a lot of things. So similarly, I think lots of things will be taken over by AI, if it's not already. Because in fact, that way, the mobile phones are very advanced, more advanced than your mirrorless cameras. Imagine a mirrorless camera which works on Android, okay, and which you can upgrade. Your apps come with new features every time. Probably that's what I think. Probably that's why many there's too many parallels to talk about. But let's say tomorrow, if Huawei come with a camera, correct? And anyway, Chinese manufacturers already have tons of great quality optics, correct? If that goes in a Huawei camera, which keep giving you upgrades and new interfaces and new AI features tomorrow, all you have to do is to pick it up and shoot. And probably it will even tell you that, okay, you are looking at arcs, maybe move 10 steps to the left, and maybe you'll be able to take a better shot. So I have a feeling that image processing will, in a great way, will be influenced by or taken over by AI. You will have less and less, you will have less and less to do there. Even in cameras, you probably will start getting more computational photography features coming in. And this again is it's like fossil fuel versus electric vehicles, correct? Fossil fuel owners are kind of trying to resist that change, but it has to, one day will happen. Similarly, Kodak resisted the whole shift to digital, but they died in the process. So similarly, the next change will happen sooner or later, but I think it will be it will be, I think, in a big way, will be guided by or influenced by AI and the understanding of imaging. Softwares will be completely taken over, like the Luminar is already there, giving you tons of AI features. Like Bobby is saying, my turn. So correct. I mean, your cameras have started shooting tons of great looking images, and I've had situations. My art director would shoot so that was Galaxy S2. I very clearly remember he shot and gave me, "Arey Radha, aisa ek shot do na mujhe," So it is bound to happen. I don't think there's any point in either resisting or worrying about it. You need to pick what you need. Like I said, you need to take what you need and keep moving on.
True. No, the mobile actually, I think it's already taking over. People in vlogging, even for that matter, in weddings, I've seen like clients come and click pictures using cell phone, which in camera looks better than the like the mirrorless camera or the DSLR ones. Actually, we'll be thinking, oh, that image looks more bright. So
yeah. So that's your automatic image processing in the camera. It's the AI which is doing all the corrections which you would have done with your limited understanding of imaging. Then your quality of your monitor. There are so many variables there. Mobile phone cameras. Yeah, he just just shoot. Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, the creativity probably cannot be replaced. It's the person who handles.
I hope so, and I hope so, because there is a great shift. You've many things which we thought were impossible is possible now. So I don't know. Maybe we will just end up becoming couch potatoes, and we'll sit down and just enjoy everything which the robot, the AI, and all those everything put together is going to offer you, and you probably will occasionally get up to eat and or probably to refresh yourself, and that's all. I think maybe that's where you are heading to. So when human beings from a hunter gatherer, from that position to when he started cultivation and when he started growing your food, whatever, he suddenly became 6 inches smaller than he was earlier, or he or she was. You became smaller because now you don't need to chase animals and kill them and catch them and kill them and overpower them anymore to exist, because now you started cultivating, storing, eating, so now the next generation man is moving into completely AI, deep learning, machine learning, all those sorts of world. You will also evolve in many different ways, I'm sure, physically, mentally, and all that. There's no point in trying to resist that.
Yeah.
So the next topic in after 10 years should be like how photographers evolved from mirrorless to AI. So that's a topic for the future.
10 years? No, that's far too long a time. It's in fact is already there. So they're not bringing it out because they just want to. It's like electric vehicles. It's there already. It's reality. The people are using it. So actually, it's available.
People down here. I started shooting Northern Lights just to develop interest in the pandemic. And I take this tripod, everything, set up everything, and wait. People just like come in car, take their iPhone, click it, and they're gone. And they take even selfies where we need to. I will be like, okay, that's done. And they post pictures. It's looking good. It's not something. Yes, if you print, there are differences, but to see it online, it looks the same. There is no much difference.
Exactly. So making a prediction has become actually very, very difficult. I don't think we should even, even attempt it. But I think this is more or less that's where we are heading.
So
but we will. I don't think photography will go out as. I mean, okay. So since you mentioned about it, has it actually created more photographers? It has, but has it created more good-looking photographs? I don't think so. Not in proportion. Not in proportion is what I'm saying.
Still we have.
So I don't think photography as a profession. I don't think they are in danger. But the way you work will definitely be different. Will change.
So,
That's
so there is one other interesting question from Saravanan. So I've just displayed it here.
Yeah.
So, like everyone, the access to gear nowadays is very easy. Like, so the trend is
Correct.
something like you get a cam, people become a photographer, like self-proclaimed, I'm a wedding candid photographer. So the
Correct.
competition nowadays is very, very high. So like the question is something like, what is your advice for wedding photographers or wedding filmers or cinematographers to handle this sort of competition now that the availability of gear is so very easy?
Correct. So it's two. I don't think you should worry because there is more than you can chew. There is more. I mean, we 140 crore people. So you will have enough weddings in the future to photograph. So I don't think you will run out of work. Okay. Apparently there are some, I don't know, few million shadis happen in India, and we don't have so many photographers in proportion in this country. Okay. So I think there is, as a profession, it's going to stay. Okay. Whether it's going to be competitive, yes, it will be competitive. It's been like that in every field. But then what will make that difference? It will definitely the quality. So I think what you need to worry about is in that self-improvement. How can you become a better photographer should be your worry than your competition.
True. Okay. Wow. This is another question.
Sir, you want to take more questions, or you're okay?
I'm fine as long as you are fine. Like I told you, I am at home. I have nothing else to do, and I have signed up for this. In the sense, I've signed up for interacting with photography community. I have nothing else in my life as in the foreseeable future to do. So I am not going to get up and go away. I mean, I'm here. I can sit here.
No
So
problem.
Pundalik, hello Pundalik, how are you? Pundalik is from Pune. So he's saying, what kind of films were available in those days? I heard 35mm only, and these were rules. Any rule for some film for some kind of shoots? Okay, so we had few film manufacturers. Okay, so the most popular ones used to be Kodak, Fuji. Then you had lesser known brands or less popular brands like Oro, Agfa, and few brands like that. The most popular one was Kodak, and then of course Fuji. So I used to use both. Now you used to have two different types of film. So the one was for daylight balance, which is equivalent to your 5,500K noon daylight, tropical light, not cold country 5,500. Okay, noon light. No, sorry, the cold country 5,000 noon light nahi hai. It's like white light. Then you had another one called the tungsten balance light, which is like 4,850, 4,000 or 3,250, something like that. Anyway, so there are two types of film. In that, if you wanted to shoot something with great detail and sharpness, you would use a lower ISO, low sensitivity film, which means you would shoot with something like, so there used to be a film which is 25 ISO, 25 IASA from Kodak, called the Kodak Chrome 20. Then you had 64 and you had 100. So I used to use the 64 and the 100 if it is about lots of details and stuff. Now, lots of portrait photographers and people who used to create editorial black and white kind of, so people like Raghurai, kind of people, they used to use Kodak Tri-X 400 because it had a certain grain structure. In their camera there was a certain grain structure, so they used to use that. So you would select a film that suits your work, the kind of work that you're doing. In black and white, if you wanted lots of crisp, sharp images, lot of nice contrasty black and white images, then you would use a Kodak's T-Max 100, and then you would print it. You process it using a certain chemistry and print it on a certain type of paper. So it's a combination of lots of things that would give you an image. That's why I said in those days people used to have very distinct styles, because they would fine-tune their usage of chemistry and the printing paper and the exposing techniques and stuff to kind of get a certain effect, which usually was very dear to them, and they would seldom reveal it.
Like nowadays, presets are being sold, and everyone uses preset, everything, and it's looking the same. So
correct. So the preset is much easier to apply, right? But in those days, even if somebody told you that this is what I did in the dark room, it was very difficult to kind of reproduce, because then you have to reproduce. It's very different from applying a preset.
that's true. It's just the same format, I would say. I would not say in the right way. It is just like an example. But people are selling it like for $10, $20, and people apply the same thing. And even photographers, they use the same thing. And they don't understand that they have to create a particular style these days. So that is what I wanted to bring this topic entirely. And in each session, each mentor, whoever has come, has said the same thing. Create your own style. That's what is factor. And
verify myself and Kiran, mostly we don't use presets. So every image, it's more of like impromptu. So
that's what we are paid for.
So this question is something of off topic. So I think it would mean a lot for a lot of people coming from you.
Oh, yes. So how can I answer that? Because I am in that situation now. So, there are situations which you can help and cannot help. There are two different situations. There are places where you can help and you cannot help. Now, there are situations you have control of and don't have a control of. Now, here in this case, I think I answered this right at the beginning, is that currently what is happening outside you have no control of. You don't even know what is happening to that extent. It is like stock market, all these expert economists and stock market experts will come and tell you their version of the story, but nobody will tell you how to exactly make money in a stock market. Correct? It depends on. You can go by the greatest expert and still not make money in stock market. What you can either definitely do is to study that subject in the time available and keep investing. Similarly, here, what is outside? There are so many experts outside trying to tell you what to do and what to not to do, but nobody is guaranteeing you any result. Okay, all you have to do is to take care, and there are some basic disciplines that you have to follow. Please follow that, and if possible, unless it is like a question of survival, don't step outside and do something which is adventurous. Use this time. See, even this will pass away, and that's what I mean. It's a time tested thing. This will pass away. What you have to do is to prepare yourself for that day. On the other end of the event, you should emerge as a stronger, more intelligent, more peaceful person, if possible. Things that you will go through anyway. Correct? There are so many things that you have definitely ignored during your fast-paced, the pre-COVID days, in your professional life, you have ignored a whole lot of things. Use this time to give more importance to that. Clean up your home, clean up your, a lot of muck in your top story, clean that up. You make sure that, you are in a better physical situations. Take care of your immediate family. Usually the older members of your family, I've seen lots of people, see the senior people at home, they don't expect anything more than a lot of good words from you. Use this time to hug them, sit next to them, talk to them, all that. And this is the best time that let's say, okay, so this is the best time that I have gotten myself. Not many generations have gotten this kind of luxury. Okay, when I say that, I'm not trivializing the seriousness of the situation, but I'm saying use this time to improve yourself as a person. That's it. As an individual.
But the cleaning stuff is overhill. Cleaning is like, after sitting in this pandemic, now I understand how women are suffering in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
Cleaning, and it's like, where do you get all these dishes? Are you borrowing something from next person?
Neighbor's dish also. Yeah, I know.
That's one good thing we learned in the pandemic, like how actually women suffer to do all these. Maybe I wasn't shoot, and at least in India we have someone called as hire someone and do it. But here I'm actually feeling struggle. So that also all the women.
Absolutely.
So we will take one last question from Naresh, and then we can wrap up.
Yep. Is there any difference between in lighting when you compare film cameras with mirrorless cameras? Yeah, Naresh, I told you about the way film sees an image and the digital sensor sees an image. The digital sensor can handle underexposure better, and the film can handle overexposure better. Okay, so you need to know, and plus you need to be aware even in a better. That's one. Second, your post-processing had great limitation in the film era. Okay, especially in color photography, and completely non-existent in transparencies. Okay, you have a great post control in black and white printing, but not in transparency and color negative printing. So lighting had to be perfect. So you have to definitely know the proportions in which your highlight, your key light, your shadows all should be lit with, and plus the clear understanding of where it's going to be reproduced. It's going to be a standard newsprint. It's going to be, if it's going to be a billboard or going to be printed on a very high quality fine art paper, whether the art paper is matte or glossy, whether you're going to print it with offset or sheet fed machines. All these understanding will really will to a great extent will decide the kind of ratios that you want to work with in film era. Whereas in digital, you have lots of flexibility in first thing, you have this thing called dynamic range. Second, you have lots of post-processing controls, so you can dodge and burn and cut paste and bring it from another image and things like that. So that's probably is the reason why the light meter is slowly its way out, though it is highly recommended for commercial photography. For wedding photography, you don't have a time to do all that. You just look at the LCD and keep shooting, correct? So disciplines are very different. I would say the digital photographer is in a little more convenient position to be a little more careless about lighting than we used to be in film. So you can and repair it to a great extent in post, thanks to technology, thanks to software. Though I personally don't encourage that. Because like I said, because you come from a certain backdrop, I would shoot it the way I want it. Correct? So that comes with practice. Because somebody started, like Raj said, I started in digital. So digital, when you start with certain disciplines, certain way of functioning. For you, that is your foundation, correct? So I'm not insisting that you should have a foundation which is based on film photography to be effective in digital photography. I'm not saying that, but you should definitely try and get it in your camera as much as possible. Then use your post to, when you go to a kitchen, if you know what you're going to cook, it will be better than trying to pick few things and trying to cook something. So I think you should have a clear understanding of that final image when you shoot it. I would go like that than trying to, put things together in post and create an image.
True. No, that's something we really strive for, like getting in camera, because being a wedding photographer, we don't have the luxury to sit and edit every image. So the sooner, the better it is in camera, the sooner the delivery is actually. So that is how every wedding photographer should operate. So.
Sure.
So, Kiran, would you like to add something else? I think we can.
Sir has added everything and he has given again a lot of refreshing points to the mind. So
we already have a lot of people pinging us personally. Wow, great session! Like really refreshing.
Oh, good. Happy to know that. I hope there was a good attendance too. People watched. I hope the people were benefited by it. Oh, Anwar bhai, aap abhi bhi hai. Thank you very much, Anwar bhai, for being there. Thank you very much. He's from Thane. He's in Mumbai. So thank you very much. He's a veteran, by the way. He's a very senior photographer, and he's very active in photography circle in Pune, Mumbai, and he's a veteran photographer. Lots of experience.
I'm really glad that we could connect with a lot of people here. So
yeah,
thank you.
He was continuously giving all the information. So good. Yeah, extremely.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm really happy to be a part of the session. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And all the very best to you, your organization, and everyone who came in. Sash Naidu, by the way, Sash is from Durban, South Africa. So Sash is here. He's been very active in the comments column. I can see that. Hi, Sash. Thank you very much. Bhavesh, Naresh, Anwar Bhai, and Vishnu Praveen. Your Vishnu Praveen. Thank you very much. PVS is still there. Thank you very much. Had to step out for a call. No, absolutely no problem. I mean, I was saying it's a morning. It's early morning there, right? In your part of the world, I would say stand up during live challenge. You suddenly realize that you're wearing an underwear or a nightie underneath. Stand up during live webinar challenge. You know, to throw suddenly onto people, and Kiran say, "No, I'm not standing up. I'm not standing up."
That has happened quite a few times actually. I was in my boxers. I didn't realize it.
Yeah.
So
thank you very much.
Thank you, Saravanan. Thank you, Bhavesh. Saravanan had, by the way, all the questions, whatever, many questions, Saravanan personally sent it to us. So that is what we displayed it on screen. Thank you so much, Saravanan, for the great questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I think we can end the live.
We are going to end the broadcast. Thank you, guys. Sure. Thank you for joining this session.
Thank you. Take care, everyone, and be safe and good luck. Thank you.
Yeah.